Hi guys, it's Lara. Thanks for watching and welcome back to my channel. Today I will show you how I make my own deodorant sticks. They are incredibly easy to make and the recipe is also cruelty-free and vegan. In the past few weeks I've been trying out a few recipes that I found somewhere on the internet, usually on Pinterest or on various blogs. And I've been kind of toying with the ideas, with the ratios and with various ingredients until I found for myself what works for me the best. So today I'm gonna share with you my own recipe. First, I will show you the ingredients. Then I will show you how to make the deodorant sticks. And then at the end, I will share with you a few tips. So if that's something you're interested in, then please keep watching. Here we have the ingredients for the deodorant that we are going to make today. Let's start on the left side. So here I have cocoa butter and coconut oil. Then I have here carnauba wax. You could substitute this one with candelia wax. And instead of cocoa butter, you could also use shea butter. On the right side, I have here baking soda and arrowroot powder. And here I have a couple of essential oils. Instead of the arrowroot powder, you could also use either cornstarch or tapioca starch. And the amount of baking soda you're going to be using depends on whether you have a sensitive skin or not. I'm rather going to use a little bit a bigger portion of the arrowroot powder than of the baking soda because I personally have sensitive skin. And if your skin reacts badly to baking soda in general, you might want to leave that one out completely and use just the arrowroot powder. The essential oils that I'm going to use today are tea tree oil and rosemary oil. You could also use, for example, mint oil or lemon oil or lavender oil, basically anything that smells great to you. To melt the ingredients, I personally like using a small non-sticky pan. So I put it on the stove, turn the heat on, and first I always melt 1 tablespoon of carnauba wax. I like starting with the wax because that takes the longest to melt. Once the wax is almost completely melted, I add 1 tablespoon of cocoa butter, and then I add 1 tablespoon coconut oil as the last main ingredients because that one melts very quickly. Time to add the essential oils. So today I added about 15 drops of tea tree oil, about 20 drops of rosemary oil, and about 5 or 6 drops of mint oil. And then I turned the heat off and I set the pan aside because you don't want it to boil, you just want everything to melt, otherwise it would be too hot. So now I added 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and in total 2 tablespoons of the arrowroot powder. I personally always like adding 1 tablespoon, stir it up, and then I like adding the second tablespoon because I don't want it to be clumpy. I want to make sure that when I stir it, it's gonna be a nice creamy mass. You need to work quickly because the mass will cool off pretty fast and it will start to harden, which is not what you want. You want to fill the mass first into your deodorant tubes, which I'm doing now. From my experience, when you fill your tubes with the deodorant, it kind of sets a little bit and you will have a little bit space on the top that you can fill up with the remaining deodorant mass. If it hardens too quickly, you can always melt it again on the stove, but make sure it doesn't boil because that would be too hot and it could melt your tubes. Once the deodorants have cooled off and hardened completely, they are ready to use. So that's it. It's that quick and easy. And another benefit is that you make your own deodorant with having a complete control over the ingredients, so you can make sure that there are no harsh chemicals. And now a few tips. You can always alter the ratio between baking soda and the arrowroot powder. Either increase the amount of baking soda or decrease it. depending on how sensitive your skin is. If you have a very sensitive skin, you might want to leave out the baking soda in general. Another ingredient you could add and kind of mix it in the ratio of the arrowroot powder would be zinc oxide, because it has antibacterial properties. So it comes basically in bags like this. It's a white powder. And the way I've done it for one of the batches that I made recently was I took the 2 tablespoons of the arrowroot powder, and then I took away 1 teaspoon and replaced it with 1 teaspoon of the zinc oxide, and then I added the 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and that works really well for me. But as I said, you can always try to alter the ratio and see long term what works for you the best. You can also, of course, replace the essential oils that I have shown today by any other essential oils you like better. For example, if you prefer flowery scents, you could take, for example, ylang ylang oil or some citrus oil, jasmine, rose oil. That's entirely up to you, of course. Another tip, you can play a little bit with the consistency of the deodorant stick. The way it is designed, this recipe it is quite solid, but it's not too hard. If you prefer deodorant sticks that are a little bit more melty, almost like lip glosses, you can always decrease the amount of the powdery component. So if you would take away, let's say, 1/4 of a tablespoon, it would be a little bit softer. When you would put it on your armpits, you would have to apply a little bit less pressure, obviously, because otherwise you would just smash it in. But that's also an option if you don't like the stick to be kind of hard. So definitely try out a few alternatives. I tried out making it a little bit softer. It worked nice, but I personally prefer it a little bit more solid. But again, that's up to you. The tubes that I have used for my deodorant are from Amazon. I will link down below where I bought them. I'm actually very happy with them because I personally like that they are rather smaller, because then they fit easily also in my purse. They don't take up too much space, especially if you're someone who travels a lot. But what you could do is you could use an empty case of a store-bought deodorant that you have at home. Just make sure you clean it properly, and then you can fill the mixture in just like I did with these. And you have to make sure that the mixture is not too hot, because once it was kind of steaming already and practically boiling, and when I filled it in the deodorant tubes, something melted inside because I wasn't able to screw the deodorant out. And whenever I made sure that the temperature was just right, that it was still liquid but not way too hot, I had no issue, so I can just open them easily and screw them back in without any problems. So that's something you definitely have to keep in mind. And sometimes when you open the deodorant, when you push it out a little bit and when you want to screw it back, it happens also with store-bought stuff. Sometimes it wouldn't just kind of come back, so you just push on the top a little bit and then it will slide back in, so no problem there. And that's pretty much all that I think about. Maybe another idea, if you don't want to use cases like that, but you have any larger ice cube forms, you might try, like, I don't know what material your ice cube forms are made of, but if it's like a silicone that you could also put in the oven, I guess you could fill the mixture in, and then you would have a little deodorant bar, but then you would have to keep it somewhere in a jar so that it wouldn't dry on the surface. But I think that's really it. Should I think of something else, I will simply write it down below in the description box, where I also listed the ingredients with the exact amount and a few other things that I think are important to keep in mind. And if you have any questions, simply write them in the comments and I will get back to you as soon as possible and answer to best of my ability. And that is it for today. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, don't forget to give the video a thumb up, because that supports my channel a lot. Make sure you subscribe if you didn't yet. And thank you all so much for watching. I love you guys so much and see you soon. Bye.